Asaase Radio, 99.5. 99.5.
This is Asaase Breakfast Show. There's only one in town. Yeah. I mean, everybody else has got a breakfast show. This is the Asaase one. Okay, so there is only one in town. I mean, I wasn't lying. Was I lying?
No,
Absolutely. There's only one. Yes. It's 9:15, and 9 o'clock, well, it'll be 9 o'clock, wouldn't it? This is the Asaase Breakfast. Her name is?
Nanaya Mensah.
My name is Kojo Mensah. We're here from now through till 10 o'clock. And Nanea is coming back safely from her exploits last night, hosting Sunday night with the NDP presidential candidate in the person of Nana Konadu-Agyemang-Rawlings. And you can hear a repeat broadcast of that interview tomorrow at 7 o'clock tomorrow evening. So if you missed it, make it 8 tomorrow with Nanea and her very good friend, Nana Konadu-Agyemang-Rawlings. Okay, well, security matters should be on the top of everybody's minds at the moment. Again, not just because of the successionist problem, but because it's the elections. And even before the successionist thing came up, we were talking about security. We'd had the problems around the registration process and movement of troops generally, and the destabilizing influences from sister nations who may themselves be going through a little bit of a challenge themselves. So we already had problems that we needed to be aware of. And then last week we were faced with this no more rhetoric, but an actual stance being taken by we're not even sure whether it's a combination of the three groups or simply one of the three groups, the three main groups, that has now taken the lead in this. But according to our regional minister, they seem to have some sort of relationship. Names were mentioned. We did speak to the spokesperson for one of the groups last week about their reasoning behind it. And again, it was rhetoric. You can take of that what you will. We have here in the studio to discuss some of these things in greater detail and give us a sense of how serious this situation is. Adib Saani, Human Security Analyst and Executive Director at Jadike Center for Human Security and Peace Building. We'll be joined also by Setha Champong, Chairman of the Parliamentary Select Committee on Defence and Interior and MPP Member of Parliament from Praiso constituency. And we'll also be launching later on, just before we close, we'll be launching our new program on security. It's not a whole new program. It's the intent to provide you with better clarity on certain things that you can do for yourself security-wise and what to watch out for. Brought to you through Asaase Radio and courtesy of the Jadike Center for Human Security. All right. So, welcome as usual, sir. Good to see you out and about.
Good to see you, Kojo.
Yeah, you haven't gone into your bunker?
No.
To wait out the coming storm? Good.
No.
We've talked, we're talking about these things, so we don't want to get into too much of the history. We're fully aware that there was a vote, a plebiscite, as they like to call it, a referendum about where people wanted to go. We are clear now that there was a certain part of it that spoke more to the southern peoples in that area who were not as keen on the movement. We've gone past that now. The instance that occurred, were you surprised, Adib, by the seriousness of it and the fact that they were challenging the central government of this country, I mean, head on?
Well, I am not surprised whatsoever. Kojo, when this whole issue started, I mean, we all saw Papa V, and when he was arrested, so a lot of Ghanaians were making fun of all that is going on. I mean, what is the frail old man doing amongst these people? And we seem to have behaved like it's just one of those things that would go nowhere. But for some of us who have studied extensively about secessionist movements and how they start and how emboldened they can become over time, like a specific case as with Boko Haram. When it started, Mohammed Yusuf, he was just a preacher. They didn't start as an arms insurrection. No. Unfortunately, the Goodluck Jonathan administration didn't manage it well. And that is when we got them picking arms and now posing not just an existential threat to Nigeria, but the wider West African sub-region. When the English speakers in Cameroon also started, it was like a joke. I mean, they found it so disingenuous on the part of the government to reverse or, so to speak, violate certain principles agreed upon after independence between the French and the English. And now we know what is happening with the Republic of Ambazonia and the human rights violations that is happening there. Northern Mali, what's it called? Azawad, Congo, Katanga, etc. So some of us knew what was at stake.
Let's be clear. Katanga is like, this is from when Captain Kojo Chikata was still a soldier who went on travels. I mean, this is 1966. Is it that serious? Are we looking at something that could last and just go on and on and on?
Yes, because these people started all like a joke. They mounted, they hoisted a flag at the RCC. It was a serious political statement that we really didn't pay attention to. Then later, we saw signages and felt it's some hoodlums who woke up in the middle of the night to erect them. But we knew it was also a political statement, yet we didn't see it coming. Then from nowhere, they disrupt lives, they block major roads, they take the whole country hostage, and now we are running all over the place looking for solutions, you know. And Kojo, mind you, I pray it doesn't get there. But the next thing they would attempt doing is to sabotage critical infrastructure. You know, it is very possible. Okay, we have a lot of critical infrastructure in that area, the dams, the Adome Bridge. You know, we have these pylons, the electricity pylons, all across the country. Can we ensure security at every,
those
pylon?
ones that deliver electricity to Togo are actually, some of them are, they pass through that area as well.
And when any of it is sabotaged, it can affect the electricity supply to a whole region or even a country. I mean, so these are possible threats we should be looking at going forward. But worst case scenario, if we are involved in an asymmetrical warfare situation, that would be a very difficult war to win.
Asymmetrical warfare.
It is simply conflict between a state actor and a non-state or sub-state actor, like a state with a terrorist organization like ISIS. That is asymmetrical, like Boko Haram in Nigeria. So these are not two armies colliding head-on, but this is a smaller actor against a bigger actor. So the smaller actor, knowing full well that they cannot match the bigger actor, what they do is they hit and they retreat. And that is why America was humiliated in Vietnam between 1965 and 75. The Viet Cong, they hit and run into the bush. That is why Nigeria has the largest army in West Africa. They have the strongest army, yet they cannot defeat Boko Haram, because what they do is they stage very well coordinated attacks against Nigerian interests. Then they run into the Sambisi forest. Okay, and looking at our situation, they have a geographical advantage, because they are able, they might be able to hit and run into the thick forest cover. And we should also know full well that there's an international border between there. So if there's no collaboration between the Ghanaian authorities and the Togolese counterparts and the international law, we wouldn't be obliged to chase them into Togo. And it's usually a nightmare for every government for a group to stage cross-border attacks, for a group to take advantage of their geographical location to stage, to engage in certain cross-border activities like the trafficking of weapons.
Are you suggesting that there's a possibility that this group might actually retreat into Togo, sympathetic Togo, and then keep on doing engaging in forays across the border into Ghana? Is that
absolutely? And because of the closely knit nature of the African society, and to be specific, West Africa, we know of the Songhai Empire, the Mali Empire, the Ghana Empire, where almost a single unit until the Europeans came and divided. So people live in Ghana, work in Togo, and the other way, and So the thing is, there's the possibility of spillovers, like it happened in Ivory Coast when some Liberian mercenaries were able to move into Ivory Coast to stage attacks. So there's a possibility that if we don't collaborate with the Togolese, with our Togolese counterparts, these guys could stage cross-border attacks. And trust me, they would disappear into thin air, and you can only go after the foot soldiers like it is happening. We don't even know the command structure. We are not approaching this issue intelligently, rabble rousing. Wait until things get out of hand, then you see us running all over.
Historically, we know that as far back as 1975, some peoples publicly demanded succession from Ghana. And it was actually a Durbar attended by General Ike Achampong in Ho at that time. So as far back as then, there was agitation of some sort. After that, they've even gone to Togo to appeal. They spoke to the Ghanaian ambassador in Togo. A delegation of chiefs, Ewe chiefs, went to and then talked about this same reunification of Togoland.
But they lack certain skill sets so far as countering some of these threats is concerned. Crime, conflict is changing by the day, like I always say, because of new issues. Now we have religious issues, identity issues, because of new actors, because of new interests and strategies and weapons. Now rape is a weapon of war. It's changing by the day. Yesterday's insecurity is not the same as today. So if you train an intelligence officer about 3 years ago, you don't expect that he'll be able to effectively and efficiently counter today's threats, because it's changing. And as a result, most of these guys are always a step ahead. So until we refresh their skills, until we equip them, I have taken the trouble to go around the country. I've spoken with a number of these BNI officers, and one of their major concerns is the fact that they even lack the equipment to do their work. But what is so surprising about all that is happening is the fact that a lot of us knew what was coming, because these guys have been making statement after statement, yet the security agencies didn't really do much. Secondly, you see, we need to really understand these guys. What they do is they ride on the back of local grievances, okay, to win support from the communities. Every community in Ghana has its issues. We have issues of water, sanitation, etc. But these people are able to use propaganda means to make the people think that Ghana is against them. We don't love them. They are not part of us. Make them think that they are a marginalized group. Yes, we had a budget, but we left out voter rolls. You know, meanwhile, it was an oversight. Okay, so if we don't make a conscious attempt to counteract this propaganda by investing in human security in the area, we would have the people siding with them. And once you have a local support, it will pose a bigger issue to Ghana, because obviously they would give them the shelter, they would protect them, they would cover up for them. And that is what I am beginning to see. We've also largely not collaborated effectively with the Togolese counterparts. And most of these guys, I'm pretty sure, are able to cross into Togo. And they're able to come into the country and do all sorts of things and disappear into thin air, and we wouldn't really know their whereabouts. So, I mean, so to speak, generally, I think most of the issue is really got to do with intelligence failure.
Right. Just historically, Nani, I was going to jump in a minute. Just my final question for now. There's this thing where, well, we've seen it happen, where we have these visiting or traveling fighters. We've seen it in other conflicts in Liberia and Sierra Leone and other places, where you have these young men who are willing to go and fight for any cause. So they're not really part of the cause, but they're willing to travel to go and fight in that cause. We saw a few Ghanaians who fought in the Liberian conflict, and were quite famous as well. Remember one guy, Kofi Dua or something his name was. He was arrested in Sierra Leone and in Liberia, but at different times. Is there a danger of those kinds of almost mercenary types getting in to provide that the strength, the real fighting force that is required? Is that a real possibility here?
Well, in recent times, we've even had Ghanaians traveling all the way to Syria to fight for these terrorist groups. Okay, and Kojo, that was what you are asking is one of the issues I raised. Okay, if these guys are able to come into contact with external terror organizations, it will be catastrophic for us. Okay, and now they have resorted to certain tactics that is very synonymous with terrorist organizations, like becoming splinter units. Now we have the Western Togolanders, and we have now Restoration, the study group and the Restoration. And it is a tactic usually used by terrorist organizations. For example, the Taliban, we have the Haqqani network, we have the Mullah network, we have this network. It's the same unit, yet they divide themselves. When you go to the Sahel region, the various splinter Al-Qaeda groups like Al-Murabitum, Al-Qaeda in the Islamic Maghreb, Ansar Sharia, Ansar Din, they are the same units that divide themselves to confuse you, and it's usually a strategy that works to their favor. So immediately we see them adopting these tactics, we have to really be very cautious. There's a possibility that they can form alliances with external people who would join the cause with perhaps their industrial expertise in doing so. And I mean, we might really be overwhelmed going forward. That is why I am particularly concerned, and I've always called on the authorities to take immediate action, so we don't have it, degenerating towards that trajectory. If not, it will be much more complex to deal with.
Okay, all right, Nana.
Yes, Adib Saani, you were talking about the threat posed by link-ups with other terrorist groups that perhaps might have or protest groups that might have techniques that are more advanced. And of course there's the spectacular example of Boko Haram and how far that has progressed in northern Nigeria. Is there, as far as you are aware, anything to suggest that some of those links are already being formed, or is it merely a prospect at the moment?
Well, there's no evidence that points to the fact that they have formed those alliances, but like you also mentioned, it is a prospect. There's a potential likelihood that these guys might start talking with some terrorist organizations. Let's not forget the fact that what they want, it even extends way up to the Upper East Region area. And we all know what is happening in Burkina Faso, to the extent that the American Forces Commander in Africa, General Marcus Hicks, saying that we seem to have lost the fight against terrorism in West Africa. It is towards also Nigeria. I mean, they could start. And the thing is, these terrorist organizations also are very much accustomed to taking advantage of local grievances. So perhaps the Togolanders don't even have to approach them. They could even approach them because they would have every motive to do so. Ghana has played a very critical role. I mean, terrorists don't just wake up one morning and decide to come after you. They should have established three things: the motive, the opportunity, and the means. They have the opportunity, they have the means, but the motive. And Ghana has contributed to many missions, not just within West Africa, but even beyond. I mean, we have a contingent as part of those fighting the terrorists in Mali and other places. So they have the motive to come after us, but because they are not local people, what they do is to join forces with local people, and trust me, they could send a much more serious statement than we are currently seeing. I do know for a fact, based on my initial analysis of what is going on and the persons I've spoken with on the ground, that they are also exercising restraints. You would realize that what their actions has been, coming up, gradually, and at a point it might reach a head, it might reach a crescendo that we all wouldn't be really prepared for. But I would want to say categorically that indeed, if these people wanted to bomb, if they wanted to do something much more than they did, they could have done so. So the question is, what are we doing now? Because it is really a rude awakening. And Ghana generally has been a very peaceful country. I mean, we are one of the few countries around that hasn't had any civil war. Our security profile is on point. So for us to wait for things to get to this stage is something that really baffles my mind. But I'm hoping that going forward, we are able to harness all of the opinions and all the strategies people are putting in. So we are able to manage it, but we cannot solve it. The solution stage has passed. We had that opportunity, but now we have, that window of opportunity to manage the situation so it doesn't degenerate into full-scale belligerence.
So what would be the first stage of management of the situation in terms of their abilities? We know they have the capacity to manufacture bombs. You mentioned there was the Alaja bomb factory that was discovered last year. There's also the question of funding and also possible political complications. Which of those, strategically speaking, is the first one to attack?
The funding, which can come from their command structure. So first of all, let us go beyond arresting the foot soldiers. It's only about 10% of the solution. Let us approach it intelligently. The Americans have been bombing the Taliban since 2001, but they are now in talks with them. The more you kill them, okay? We cannot arrest the whole community. These are just the low-level foot soldiers. We have to approach it tactically. Go after their funding source. Go after where they get the motivation from. Go after where they get the resources from, even if it means collaborating with Togolese intelligence. Okay? So by cutting off the head of the snake, by stopping the inflows, we can to a very large extent cripple them and prevent them from staging further disruptions. Okay. Secondly, as a matter of urgency, we really need to speak with the Togolese. We really need to speak with them, because I understand the last time the security services went into the bush to arrest them from the training camp, they walked well over an hour deep into the bush. So it is a very large area, and the people, these Togolanders understand the terrain more than even our security agencies. They can easily slip into Togo. So we really need to speak with the Togolese authorities. But in crisis management, one of the first things you do is to foster, to make the people understand that largely you're still in control. I saw the security agencies, engaged in what they call confidence patrols. Okay, it's important because these people wanted to let us understand that yes, they control that place, and they can, they issued a statement to the effect that all security agencies should leave there with an ultimatum and all that. So we really have to counteract that by making the people there understand that we are also largely still in control, and they should be hopeful about the fact that, no further disruptions would be caused. So the confidence, patrols is something that is extremely important. We can also knock on doors. We can put in more boots on the ground as a show of force. But going forward, we need to really improve intelligence. We need to train them. We need to give them the logistics they need to do their work. But all in all, in fact, Nanaya, the most important of it all is to invest in human security. It is sustainable, and in the long run, that is what is going to really help us manage the situation. Let us provide the people there. I know government is, in the process. Government is doing that all across. The Youth Employment Agency, NAPCO, one district, one factory. All of it is engineered towards, creating opportunities, especially for the youth who constitute majority of the human resource potential of the country. But if you're able to provide them more, we should invest more in these, like water, sanitation, food, shelter, improving their livelihoods. I'm pretty sure that it can help to a very large extent. And all of it should be central to, the whole security approach.
What do you say to the suggestion that this has become so deeply rooted that maybe we're even beyond that point, which can be addressed by being seen to engage with the people and engaging with their needs? That this is something that is so deeply rooted now in the culture and among the people that a bit like, say, other examples of very long-running separatist disputes, such as the Catalan example, for example, in Spain. You're not talking about a poor area of Spain. Catalan is one of the most prosperous, industrialized areas of the country, and yet this is a dispute that has run for the better part of a century. So can addressing the people's human security needs, as you describe them, really, in this case, deal with the problem?
It cannot deal with the problem, but it can manage the problem. Like I indicated, we've gone past solving it. We can only manage it, unfortunately. But investing in human security would negate the propaganda the separatists have been engaged in. There are issues of identity, with a lot of them feeling they've been marginalized and not seen as Ghanaians. That's why I particularly get very disturbed when I see, certain politicians who should know better come to say really despicable things that actually works in favor of these separatists. There are issues. Every society in Ghana has its own issues of healthcare delivery and all that. But I think going forward, we have to really improve the Human Security Secretariat, Department or Directorate at the National Security Secretariat, which has largely remained, inactive since his boss, General Nunu Mensah, was removed. But going forward, I think we need a national security strategy. It is extremely key. When you go to other jurisdictions, they have it, even Liberia, Kenya, and other countries. That basically, points to how the running of security should be, not just constricted to the politicians, but you and I, the role we can play. It is extremely key because it also addresses emerging security issues. For example, the one developed by the U.S., every 4 years they change it, depending on, how things change. For example, after 9/11, some changes were made to it because of the terrorist attack. When Trump came to power, he changed it because he has a different approach to security. America first, and he doesn't really see collaboration as being very much in the interest of America. So if we have it should go beyond a national security policy. This is a national security strategy that should be changing over time. It can address most of these issues, but for us to also think that talking with them, I heard my senior colleague, Dr. Kwesienin, talk about the fact that we should speak with them. I beg to differ. It would set a very dangerous precedence. When we do that, it means we've recognized them. It means we'll be legitimizing their ways. It would also mean they have succeeded in cowing us into submission, and basically other people from other parts of the country might also just wake up one morning without washing their face and come out to say, we want our republic of this, republic of that. And on a lighter note, Americans would also wake up and say, we want our republic of America. It will set a very bad precedence. And I don't think this is the time for us to talk about engaging them. Trust me. I know it would have been a bitter pill to swallow, but we've not gotten to that. We still have that window of opportunity to manage the issue once and for all. But that can largely be done through human security.
Okay. So in terms of, say, addressing the needs of younger people, you've spoken about how human security could be, if you like, the magic key that unlocks that and maybe stabilizes that situation. One of the interesting things about the clips that we've seen on social media, for example, of some of the individuals involved in this movement, or if you like, the backdrop of community support to this particular Western Togoland movement. One of the things that has been most curious has been the age range and the social range of the people who seemed to turn out and receive these messages of radicalization with enthusiasm. There's one we had on our own Facebook page this past week, and you have an audience of a very old man, well, 3 or 4 much older men standing right at the front, together with the people who you could see as conventional foot soldiers holding the placards who may have been planted there. Yeah. Also women, also children. It was an event for them in their village that these people had turned up and was summoning them, calling them to arms, to take arms against the state, in effect, and it being a just cause, which there was a historical antecedent. Now, how do you deal with that aspect? Because there you're not talking about human security necessarily. Some of the old people at the front looked very prosperous.
Well, the thing is, I think I've said it on this show before, usually terrorist organizations feel a certain vacuum where government is not able to provide certain services to certain areas. They feel the vacuum, they are able to impose taxes, and they are able to provide services that the government is not able to. So at the point we were at the Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping and Training Center, and there was this issue of hybridity so far as fighting terrorism is concerned. Let us go beyond the militarized posture to, the use of soft power. And in this situation, I think the militarized posture might not fully help, even though it is part of the strategies we can adopt into dealing with the issue. And I'm particularly very enthused about the fact that the age range actually cuts across, because for some time now these people have engaged in propaganda. They have gotten a lot of the people in the area to think that it is a just cause and it is in their best interest. And I said this on a number of platforms. They have community support. And once they have community support, it becomes extremely difficult because nobody will talk to you. I mean, they would give them the shelter, they would give them the protection, and you go there and might just randomly arrest people and would not really make any progress. So I think going forward, what we have to do is to counteract. How do we do that? By investing in the people. Human development is extremely key. By extending necessary social services to that area to counteract the argument that yes, they are marginalized and they are not seen as Ghanaians, and that we had the budget and forgot their roots and all that. So we need to make a conscious attempt to negate that propaganda.
Right. The argument against that, of course, would then be that, okay, so everybody can do this just because they want a few more roads in their community. Well, you can answer that question in a minute. But we just want to welcome our other studio guest this morning. That's in the person of Seth Achampa, Honourable Chairman of the Parliamentary Select Committee on Defence and Interior and MPP Member of Parliament for Mprasu constituency. Good morning, sir. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning, Kojo. Good morning, Anaya.
Yeah, thanks.
Good morning, my brother.
Thanks very much for being here. Before we go any further with Adib, let's get you involved almost immediately. You must have been meeting now with a few people to talk about this issue. From a parliamentary perspective, how concerned are you as the chairman? And is Parliament engaged appropriately in this matter on what's been going on in Western Togoland? Oh,
thank you very much.
Just called it Western Togoland, didn't I? In the Volta region.
Thank you very much, Kojo. I think we are very much worried because it borders on the security of our country and the stability of our country and the unity of our country. And so it is indeed a worry from where we sit and stand as reps of the people. We represent the entirety of this nation, and so that is where you find the nation work and walk. And so it is indeed a germane matter we are really, really concerned about. We are in conversations with the operators of our state security, i.e. the sectors of Ministry of Interior, Ministry of Defence and the National Security. And fortunately, a week from tomorrow, the House is being recalled officially, and we will take advantage of that period to really dig deeper into this conversation and chart a proper path for all of us. But for now, I wouldn't want to describe those fellows as any secessionist group. They are just criminals. Because that is my observation. They are criminals. They can't. There's nothing. I don't want to go by. I was listening in when you started the conversation because I got a bit late. Another program took me away. They put me on a different medium that got me stuck for a second for some time. Let me say this: Ghana and the plebiscite votes for those who want to join the union and those who don't want to join the union, wherever they're operating from, do not belong. It's not part of the old architecture. It does not come in. And so you don't just go and invent your own story and come and tell us stories. Like it said, and I support you when he said, some say we're treating them with kid gloves. I think we have treated them with kid gloves. But in security and in gathering enough intelligence and observing characters, sometimes it takes a while to truly do such an observation. These are people who are not just right in their thinking, and they have, certainly, you may have anybody come to support them on their agenda, but that is not my focus. My focus is that what has happened in the last time, we have enough evidence that these are criminals. You go and break into a police station, you go and appropriate a state vehicle, you go and attack a person who is serving the state in service. It's criminal and straight to the point. We need to put them before the law courts and ensure that, at least for me, we now have good evidence. When you talk about the frailty of the old man, today, from what we've observed and what I know and the briefings I've had, they are trying to break into groups. We were following all these groups. The old man is insignificant today. It's like you said, the age cuts across. But these are supported by certain individuals who know better. And for appropriate time, some of these things certainly will emerge. People need to be very careful. You know, people who are paid with taxpayers' money, teachers who are teaching in schools, are part of these people.
Isn't that the more reason why you can't just label them criminals and let that be? It might be a criminal act, sir, but surely what they're doing has more to do with, they're not armed robbers. I mean, in the normal sense of criminality, you know that these people are just out to try and make some money or something. But that there's something far deep-seated and deep-rooted than simple criminality in this.
The crime is when you break into my property.
Yes, I know,
and
but
vandalize my property. It's
right.
crime.
I understand.
Crime is when you shoot a gun at me and murder me. It's crime.
You don't
That is
consider...
what I understand you. But these are not criminals who are looking for wealth overnight. These are criminals with a different intention. And so for me, my position is that their actions have proved that they are criminals. The mere fact that they had the effrontery to attack a police station tells me that they are in for something worse, maybe to destabilize the state. And such a person is a criminal.
Well, it's
because
a treasonous act.
Yes, this is my take. I'm not looking at them with criminals such as those in the category of armed robbery. No. But why would you break into a police armory, appropriate weapons? As we speak, we've recovered one of the weapons. They took 10 AK-47s away. What's your intention? What do you want to use that for? You want to destabilize this country? We will treat you with those measures that you intend to do same to us.
Honorable Chairman,
yes,
are you satisfied with the security services response and not the seeming failure, but that's the way it's being portrayed, that actions were slow, very, very slow in coming to the fore, that led to the ability of these criminals, as you put them, to do what they did? I mean, now, speaking as a representative of the people, Mr. Chairman, are you satisfied? Were we up and doing when we should have been up and doing as a security service?
When you're doing an analysis of such a magnitude, certainly you will identify gaps. And I don't run away from the gaps. There were gaps in operation. There were gaps post people receiving intelligence, in acting. And so there were gaps there. I will admit to same. However, the overall response, very positive. And so I do not describe the state of our security to be fragile or to have failed us. No, they were able to respond appropriately and within time. By midday of the said day, we had recovered most of the main architects who were spread out across the various spots within the Volta region. And for me, that was a mark of efficiency. However, at the outset, we had gaps. But these same operatives will tell you it was part of our tactic. It is left for another day's conversation. So sometimes I don't dwell too much on them, but my focus is within the time left for us, were we able to redeem ourselves? And I think we were able to redeem ourselves. By so, I believe that our state security is intact.
Right. Okay. Adib, you wanted to say something?
I think that, when you take a closer look at the intelligence cycle, we have the need for the intelligence to be mandated for first. Then the intelligence is gathered, is interpreted, is disseminated to the appropriate authorities so they take action. Then there's an M&E mechanism to everything. I think largely there's been an intelligence failure. The essence of intelligence is to preempt and to prevent certain things from happening, and we cannot always have correct intelligence. Sometimes we might gather the correct intelligence but incorrectly interpret it. Okay, of course the Americans with all their intelligence would have been able to tell that there was an impending 9/11. Okay, it is not always right, but what I find captivating is the fact that they have gone beyond criminals. These are terrorists, and we have to deal with them as such. This is homegrown terrorists, and the possibility of them speaking with perhaps other sub-regional terrorist groups is extremely real. So we cannot afford to downplay what is going on, especially knowing full well what is happening in other countries. I mean, asymmetrical warfare situation, God forbid, might really pose a serious threat to the security of the country than we think it would.
Honorable.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the commentary. Let me state this. Speaking specific to the matter before us, we have the history of this group. We have the history of when they broke in recent times, the actions that were taken. We took them to court. The old man was that free. We let them go because we could not adduce proper evidence. I am very much careful in choosing my language. Reasons is that I cannot agree that we have terrorism in this country. If I say so, we are rather putting the business community into a more dangerous arena. And people who are listening in to us, Ghana all of a sudden is having homegrown terrorism. It's very dangerous. There cannot be terrorism in Ghana. Yes, there could be some people who perceive themselves to be such, but we are following them carefully, and people would respect the security of our country pretty soon. Let me state this. Yes, indeed, at the outset, we let them off, and everybody is blaming us that we treated them with kid gloves. But if the people do not perform some actions that amount to you having proper ingredients to nail them on, you will still be observing and watching them. Freedom of expression, freedom of association, enshrined in our 1992 Constitution. And the people take, yes, we have some regulations in Public Order Acts in which needs to be sought. But you said they have community support. For me today, I'm emboldened because the House of Chiefs have spoken. And if we take our state government out, they are the custodians of the land. And they are the community leaders. They have come to say they are not in support. That is a positive move for me. Any other person in a community who seeks to go and champion such measures are anti-society, anti-development, anti-progressive. And so this is the way the mediation process needs to be handled. Besides that, the actions that took place ought to be offered an appropriate and equal measured response. And for me, I can only label them for now because I'm not a prosecution to put them before the law courts. And the only place we can take them on is to put them before the law courts. That is what the 1992 Constitution mandates us to do. So we have no other option. And so from on, I recommend that they are surcharged as criminals using the appropriate ingredients. Because that is the only way we can have them there, down, if possible, incarcerate them. If left to me, people are saying I'm over speaking the matter. If they must be made to face firing squad, they must be shot for people to know that we are not joking in this country. We are serious and we mean business. People cannot take the leniency and the respect for humanity to be a weakness of a particular system. I am concerned because I'm a politician. In 2007, under President Kufuor's watch, these people started saying, today they are laying claim to inclusion and marginalization, i.e. the Eastern Corridor Road. Yeah. I live in Parliament and I work in Parliament. We have fully approved a proper loan that is taking care of that work. Who is being marginalized? The resources that it's from other areas, the cocoa resources from other regions, the gold resources from other regions, they are the same things we have securitized over the years to develop the basic amenities we have in this country. So nobody comes to that conversation before me because it does not work and it falls flat. That is why I don't give them any description but call them criminals. Mm-hmm. Because any person who thinks in that light is a criminal and do not want the positivity of this country. Mm-hmm. Their actions, for my take, is to cause destabilization of our country. And any person who looks at destabilizing this beautiful country of ours is a criminal and need to be surcharged as such. If the ingredients to be used is treason, for me, if you allowed me, Kwame Champon, they are treasonable offense, and they need to be treated with such measure. If any person in uniform, and as a security analyst, you know, bearing an insignia of state, that is the state authority. You have you can sit and decide and boldly step on ground and go and attack a police station, not let alone a divisional officer, past a district officer, past a station officer, a divisional officer and his driver, and will let you go. What confidence will the police be having in the current administration if you don't speak with this kind of language? That's why I don't speak like this. I'm speaking like this because
people are thinking that they can just, do anything and get away with it within the space of the law. And we now, with this evidence, whatever it takes to nail these people, we must nail them. Yes, they are in splinter groups. Yes, they are training people. But this is why I call on my colleagues, and I'll say this without turning anywhere. Wherever they be holding all these surgeries, you have representatives there. They cannot tell me they don't know about their activities in their neighborhoods. What have they been saying to this? Only commentary you hear is that the intelligence is a failure of intelligence. It's not a failure of intelligence. If you do not understand a person's tactic, you may say it's a failure. But when it has proved successful, then you are able to do a generic analysis and say, yes, here you erred, there you did, that you did. And so for me, I'll not lay blame on the intelligence and the security architecture we have in the country for now, but I'll say that we must move on and we must all admonish ourselves. Where we did not do well, I admit. But I don't think it is intelligence failure. We got the intelligence. I'm sure when we were supposed to act, we acted in delay. That, I must admit, was wrong. I can't condemn that. But that is not a total failure of our state security.
But
sorry, I just want to ask, you mentioned two things there. So the awareness of surgeries and some sort of training camp.
Should I even call it, yes.
So the state intelligence apparatus was aware.
I'm very much aware.
That there were training camps.
With pictorial evidence. Let me divulge some information here. These guys they are major operating neighborhood is the Mepe area. And they've been meeting at midnight. That's why I'm able to say I know people who are being paid with the taxpayers' money. Teachers who are members of this group. People pride themselves to associate with this group. So unfortunate. In this day and age, you come get gainful employment from the state you want to move away from, and it pays you, and you turn around and go and support some of these movements. And then using the state's same resources to offer you knowledge, you use that knowledge to go and shortchange those who are, unfortunately, they could not benefit from the formal education you got, brainwash them, and pull them along your evil deeds, your evil paths. That is criminal, my take. And I can be quoted anywhere. Those people are criminals who need not to be taken lightly at all.
Honorable Chairman, before Adib comes in, there's one other thing. Have you been satisfied that as a parliamentary select committee that you've been properly briefed all the way through this and allowed to input into the decisions that were going to be made about what action was going to be taken? Were you properly and appropriately informed in advance?
We in our 2018 discussions with the Minister of National Security, which we just held this year, by the existing act of the security and intelligence agencies, the Minister of the National Security is supposed to brief Parliament on an annual performance of our state security. We will be having the 2019 when we go back, so that it takes a while to complete the entire report because it's very sensitive, and the sensitivity of it demands that we normally have these briefings in camera, and at that time we drop all the rules and we face ourselves squarely, and he comes in attendance with his colleague ministers who are in other security sectors, defense and interior, and then his entire team, and we interrogate the issues. At the time, they had given us every indication that they are aware of this group and they are closely monitoring them and looking at what they are doing and where they are, but they are not able to give such information out to general public, because sometimes when you stop it too early, you really do not get their intentions. At first, we felt maybe it was just some disgruntled youth or group who felt they were being marginalized, maybe in their subset of the jurisdiction. However, now it is escalating, and evidence demonstrates that their
engagement is not just only with people. Let me say this. I don't need to, garnish this business. It's not only with people within. There are people without, from intelligence gathered from their engagements, and the people who they claim support them and are pushing them. The whole subject. Let me state this. Kojo, I want everybody who lives in West Africa to understand that West Africa is a very turbulent area. West Africa is sitting on the 60% reserve of the world's hydrocarbons. This should start a conversation for all of us. We are sitting on wealth, and you go as a student of security, look at the Darfur region and give your own analysis. Who are the forces behind the destabilization of the region? And most of the regions that have been destabilized are all due to the wealth that is embedded in their nature. And so we have to be very up. That is why I don't treat this matter as a political partisan subject. This borders on our unity, it borders on our stability, and it borders on our oneness, our peace. And so any person who is for that is anti-state, and I don't subscribe to such people. So I look at this matter from that angle, and it's a very serious matter. I would wish we discuss this matter for the entirety of the year, so that every Ghanaian would know and listen and understand where we are going and what this means to the life of our state.
Adib, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I think, like I mentioned earlier, we need to go beyond the low-level arrests. Honorable, I've seen a number of persons, about 31 in all, arrested.
Initial arrests, yeah.
But you see, if we don't go after the high-value targets, if we know which people are involved, which politicians are involved, the top people, go after them, I mean, we wouldn't really be succeeding in sending across the signal. But we should go beyond just the arrest of these, low-level people, and go after where they get the inflows, where the inflows come from, where they get the monies from, where they get the weapons from, because now they are armed. We cannot run away from it, okay? Where they get all the motivation from. But we also need to, as a matter of urgency, improve intelligence, especially in these areas. I think a lot more work could have been done. I mean, like Honorable said it, there were some blips. Intelligence is not always right. Even if you have the intelligence, but don't apply it within a certain time, space, of course, it defeats the purpose. So going forward, I think improvements in intelligence through investments and, of course, training would help to a large extent. And you see, every society has its issues. You cannot have a utopian society.
Please,
exactly.
Reference the wealth and the intent to destabilize because of that. Not a party political partisan issue, but something that is almost manufactured from elsewhere to be part of the destabilization for other reasons.
Like Honorable has said, I've also said it a number of times. They use that marginalization thing to get support, and it's usually hinged also on certain statements people make, to the effect that, these are Togolese, they would come into the country and register. Some of these things, we take it lightly, but it works to their advantage. And like I indicated, you see, there are issues there. I mean, there are issues of unemployment, access to certain basic services like water, sanitation, and all that, which cuts across all of Ghanaian society, despite the fact that government is assiduously working in managing some of these things with the introduction of many interventions. Even at the Gender Ministry, they have this projects that they give monies to certain households just to get them a bit above the poverty line. It's helping, but I think going forward we really need to invest more. So invariably we will be counteracting the propaganda they have been engaged into, the effect that they are a neglected people fine, a lot of work is being done. I mean, behind doors to work on the Eastern Corridor route. A lot has been said about it even before this government came to power. Every government is saying, oh, we've worked on it. I have been there. I know how bad the situation is like there. And I think by extending some of these services, it would really help to get the people to get them to understand that these are common criminals, these are terrorists, and they are not there for your cause, but for their own selfish gains.
So there's a bit of massaging of the egos of the people in that area. That's what you're saying.
Of course, because
so when the terrorist group breaks out in Banda or somewhere, then we should do the same thing. I mean, where does it stop, Adib?
You see, like I indicated, this issue has gone beyond being resolved, but rather we should manage it, okay? And in desperate times, of course, we need certain desperate measures. We cannot resolve this issue. We can only manage it because we've allowed it to fester for some time. Okay, these people have become so emboldened, and Kojo, it could have been worse, as a matter of fact. So let us extend the services. Okay, let us improve intelligence. Let us speak with our Togolese counterparts so we don't have cross-border activities. You see?
I think some people would agree with some of it, but as a Ghanaian, you're also going to be resentful that, you know, if somebody closes a few roads, then I give them whatever they want. And that's the challenge.
I just want to ask a very simple question.
Honorable.
Basic education. Today, every person in this country is enjoying from the policies of this administration. President Akufo-Addo has offered every secondary school going a child freedom to go to school, and he pays for that. Is it happening? Are there schools in the neighborhood? There are schools in Mepe. There are schools all over in the neighborhoods. Have they been marginalized? No. So it doesn't come in at all. That is why I don't want to encourage that conversation. It doesn't come in at all. The reasons are that's why forever I'm not using criminality as an infantile or conversation. No. You are saying we should manage it. How do we manage it? A dangerous matter is such gravity. We have to cleanse them off. I'm serious about it. When they get me, they'll kill me. And so I want them to be killed. Because I want to enjoy Ghana. There's no beautiful country other than Ghana that I know of. By virtue of our stewardship and our own private life. We've traveled across. This is the only country you can walk freely at night without anybody coming to accost you. Where are you going to? And we walk freely. We enjoy this country so beautifully. We can't allow them to destroy the country.
Of course.
By such rhetoric. Come to my constituency. There are areas who do not enjoy pipe-borne water. It's in my constituency, just in Eastern region here. We haven't fully developed our country. Even the first world countries, walk in there. There are neighborhoods who struggle. There are villages. They don't have all the 100% state-of-the-art infrastructure as you have in their capitals. So that is development. That should be the psyche of every human being. Human security, yes, I support. But that should not be the excuse for you to come and destabilize the system we have. I wouldn't consider them as an existential threat. They are just people who are not thinking right. They are not thinking right. The evidence abound. I wish I get opportunity to show you the evidence. The evidence abound. Look, it is public knowledge. When Ghana was being grown, we have the records, the plebiscites in the British Togoland. The lands were Mamprusi, Dagomba land, Gonja land, Buem and Krachi, Pando and Ho. Where was Japon? Where was Mepe? Where was Bato? Where was Adaklu? It doesn't come in. The areas they're operating from and they are claiming that is their concern. And they are working self-styled preachers. Earlier on you were discussing about people coming in as clerics and brainwashing people. And you were given a background to how these groups start. These are operating differently. And this is the history. Those who decided to vote for the union, Dagomba voted over 17,000.
Those who wanted separation were 3,000. Dagomba voted 28,000. Those who were against was 6,000 plus. Mamprusi 17,000. Gonja was 3,000 and 2,000 against. Buem and Krachi had 28,000 and 18,000 said they didn't like it. Pando had 18,000. So Pando lost. Pando wanted a separation. They wanted to go. And then who wanted a separation? They were the only two out of the lot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 2. And out of 6, they wanted to join the union. And they joined us. That's why we have Ghana today. Where they are operating from, it's not part of the place. So it's a non-starter. That's why I don't even want to engage in that conversation. It's a non-starter. So nobody should take this country for a ride. And you see, as an analyst, go back to history. The first time they started this business was in 2007. They went sleeping. And they are back again. So that is where your point that we don't think they are politicians. We think these are unscrupulous human beings who do not merit my description as Ghanaians. They are not. And so if they don't want to belong to us, they can run away from Ghana and leave us in peace. This must not allow to happen. We should not be holding this conversation in mediation terms. No, there's nothing to mediate about. It is not. It is not. If I were the police officer they sought to kill, my family would not be happy. Or that officer were a relative of ours, they would not be happy to this. That's why I said in the outset that I am a bit happy today because the House of Chiefs have spoken and the chiefs of the area are saying they are not part of it. I'm praying and hoping that the talk will be walked so that we would all see it in action. And I call on my colleagues who are leaders of those communities, as opinion leaders, to also begin to say same. I've heard Sami Okujeto speak to this matter. I wait on all the others to also speak to the matter and should not just sit back and watch and come and say that we square the blame on government. That for me is an easiest excuse anybody can offer. If that is what people want to tell us. This is concerning the unity of Ghana, the stability of Ghana, and the peace of Ghana. We should not encourage this.
You know, Kojo, there's absolutely no justification whatsoever for their action. Absolutely. And I stated it, I stated it right from the beginning, that every community has its challenges. But to write on the back of these challenges to engage in such as unscrupulous activities is a no-no. However, let us not make it sound simplistic. Let's go crush them. Let's go. Because it is much more complex than that we can fathom. And we have a lot of lessons to learn from other jurisdictions. I have read extensively about how Boko Haram started. And during a funeral procession for one of their followers, I think a shot was fired and some of them were killed. Okay, then they also decided to go on a rampage without guns. Then Goodluck Jonathan administration said, no, we're not going to allow this. Send soldiers, go and crush them, like finish. And when they got there, guess what? Extrajudicial killings were happening right in front of police stations. Okay, and the people felt like, oh, you are bringing sadness to kill nordness, right? And that is what justified. That is the justification they had in recruiting more and more people. And now they are caught up in an asymmetrical warfare situation. Nigeria has a very potent army, okay, in numbers, in logistics, yet they are unable to defeat Boko Haram. So I think rather we need to approach, it's painful when you have a group of people like this wanting to take the whole country to ransom, but we need to be strategic about it.
Right.
As a matter of fact, because these people have succeeded to a very large extent in getting the communities to support their cause. So what do we do going forward in de-radicalizing and at the same time getting these people, behind bars?
I think the Honourable Chairman...
That is why... Sorry to be rude here. Sorry to be rude. That is why I called on my colleagues. They are community leaders as well. they've not succeeded in conscientizing the entire community. Because if they have done so, then my colleagues are also part of it.
Yeah.
That is why I'm calling on everybody. We are not scratching the surface. In as much as I'm calling for some level of engagement like you wish, that's why I'm calling on community leaders. That's why I stated that the chiefs, our biggest challenge as a country in killing this matter is with the law courts. Because the moment you are not able to adduce proper evidence before the law courts, all that you come with is useless. That is our biggest challenge. So for me, I'm happy for what they have done. So people will say the intelligence community failed. They allow them to act. Without such actions, you have nothing to nail anybody in the law courts. When we start nailing them, we'll see who come after their defense. And then all those who are hiding behind veils and curtains, the veil will drop and we'll see them.
Right.
We need to take action.
Okay. We're going to end on that note, sir. Honorable says we need to take action, and he's looking at it from the strictest, strongest perspective. And I think that the Honorable will be inviting Adib Saani anyway for some private discussions.
Well, I don't know whether he remembers. We're engaged in a program.
Yeah. So we know they will be talking and seeking, because the discussions behind the scenes also are pretty critical. It's not just what comes up in the public domain, but what is. I was going to ask the Honourable Chairman whether or not, when these people who are being questioned, what tactics are used to question them? If within the framework of the laws of Ghana, are we allowed to go beyond our normal question and answer to get to the root based on it being a treasonous offence? And I'm sure you know. You probably
I'm not an operative, so I'll not be able to.
You wouldn't answer me anyway. Honourable Chairman of the Parliamentary Select Committee on Defence and Interior and MPP Member of Parliament from Priso.
Yes,
I
please.
say thanks so much for coming in.
It's a pleasure.
Is there anything, any final message that you really do need to get out there?
I want to really get everybody to know that this is a matter, like I said, borders on the stability of this country, the peace of this country, the unity of this country. Any person with knowledge and information bordering and relating to these people, share with us. We keep receiving information. And like I said, most of the things I know I did not even get from the security people. I go from people on ground who see what they do. They are very evil. They will come and recruit people and tell them they want them to pray with them. Before they board the vehicle, they take all their phones. They will take them to undisclosed locations, get them into church room, they start praying, they pray for a while, and then they start preaching to them evil and conscientizing them negatively. And I think people must desist from this. Now, since they became known, they have forgotten of the old man, and the young men have taken center stage, and they think they are more radical. We live to see the future, but we will not let them take this country for a ride. We will deal with them appropriately. I am very serious on this matter. I'm not joking on this matter. There are huge investments in Ghana. Ghana has signed on to a lot of treaties. Ghana is liberalized her economy, and we will not allow anybody to come and destroy the economy. That's why I would not call them terrorists. They won't. They would. That will drive away our investors. I don't want that, and it is not so. They can't be, because we can arrest them, and we will arrest them and treat them by the way we have prescribed our country to be treated with, in terms of the language for the law. We will do what we have to do, because they cannot destabilize this country for us. I thank everybody who is listening to us, and this is my first time of coming to.
You're very welcome.
And I'm very much impressed with the ambience and experienced personnel here. Not to be seen as, trying to use language.
We're grateful, sir. We're grateful. That's the Honourable Seth Champong, Chairman of the Parliamentary Select Committee on Defence and Interior, and MPP Member of Parliament from Priso constituency. And before we say bye-bye, you're here, Honourable, so you can witness this. This gentleman here, Adib Saani, is working with Adib Saani is working with us on a new initiative for this radio station. Can you just very briefly tell us about that before we say goodbye? This is the official launch moment.
Well, we have a very important role to play so far as safeguarding the peace and security of Ghana is concerned. In the past, a lot of Ghanaians are tempted to believe that ensuring security is just the preserve of the men and women in uniform. But it is important that we are all security aware. We keep an eye on what is happening in our communities, in our homes, our habits on social media. So in all, we can all contribute towards safeguarding the peace and security of Ghana. As a result, we have come out with this collaboration as part of our corporate social responsibility to create awareness for people to understand. Honorable, believe it or not, there are still people who fall for someone calling to tell them, oh, I mistakenly sent you 1,000 Ghana cedis. Please send it back to me. Even though you and I might be aware. But a lot of Ghanaians do seem to be security aware. So it is important that we have such a program. So on daily basis, within a minute, twice a day, we get the information out there so we all can be conscious. And that would really help the police and help yourself. I mean, advance the peace and security of the country going forward.
Let me congratulate you for such a creative platform, and it is one of my wishes, and you have really actualized my wish for me. Education is key. Security is number one. It is the most expensive ingredient of the governance equation, and so I am happy you're taking it up and you're taking it that notch higher. The concerns you just shared, the instances, we all are one way or the other approached by those characters, but because of our level of maybe openness, we don't fall victim. But day in, day out, they are practicing and they get victims because people don't listen. Even as we are speaking now, some people who are listening may not take it serious, but some will take it serious, and some do not even listen at all. And so consistency helps to drive home the proper message. And I know that with time, Asaase, which for my language means a big thing for us, we sit on Asaase, and so it covers everywhere. You cover everywhere, and people would know that Asaase has come to stay forever and ever in the annals of Ghana's media waves.
Yeah, we hear you. Thank you very much. So listen out for Security Watch. They're presented by Adib, but our broadcasts on. Are you doing it yourself?
No,
I'm
doing it, but not.
You're putting together the
exactly,
literature.
putting it together. So,
So in collaboration with Jatike and Asaase, we're coming up with this project. You'll be hearing these pieces of advice on a regular basis. Listen out, take note, and work with it. And it just could save your life. All right, we're going to say goodbye now. Going to say goodbye. Go.
It's goodbye from me.
Who are you?
I'm Nanaya Mensah.
Okay, that's Nanaya Mensah. My name is Kojo Mensah. We'll be back tomorrow morning, 5:30 in the morning. All right. So have a good day. Coming up next is Otublo with the news, followed immediately afterwards by what comes up next? 10 to 1 with Caroline. That's the one. And then between hours and then Crystal on. Do we have any repeats today? Nothing else going on today. Tomorrow is the repeat of your program, isn't it?
Okay, I was just going to say, is there no On the Ground this afternoon?
On the ground, 1:30 this afternoon, as usual, On the Ground with Wilberforce Society. Make a date, don't be late, listen to that. Okay, but we say bye-bye now. My name's Kojo Mensah, her name is
Nanaya Mensah.
Have a great day.